describe what happens.
Once I take that step back, I look over my shoulder, and Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side, and I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski, and there were three people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what That's what I run.
We're going to just take time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir. We're going to take a break about 10 minutes, and please don't talk about the case during the break. Watch.
So you see the emotional breakdown there of 18-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse on trial for shooting 3 people. 2 of them died during protests after a police shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It was August 25th, 2020, and we have been following this case, and now the defendant is on the stand. The prosecution rested a short time ago. This is his defense attorney, the lead attorney, Mark Richards, and they are going piece by piece. And when you get to the part of the actual action of shooting, a lot for anybody to get through, certainly the person on the stand. The judge has just directed that there will be about a 10-minute break while Kyle Rittenhouse can gather emotionally. His attorneys can continue to question after that. You were watching the coverage of this live trial. This is the Faulkner Focus. I'm Harris Faulkner. This is in focus for us this hour. There was so much talk about this during a time when businesses were being destroyed during riots. And it was, it was just a few months after George Floyd in Minneapolis. And we saw this in certain sectors of the country where, there were zones set up and lots of violence in the streets. There were protesters, yes, but then there were insurgents among them. And this was one of the areas in downtown Kenosha after a police shooting there, separate from George Floyd. Jacob Blake was shot by cops there. And that case had not even played out yet, and people were in the streets rioting at that point. And Kyle Rittenhouse has always maintained that he and friends went there. He was armed and had also a medic kit with him. He had a bulletproof vest, but loaned it to a friend because he has testified today that they were going to help people and protect some of those businesses as the riots were going on. So that sets up how we got here today. And now his attorney is trying to show what exactly was going on with Kyle Rittenhouse at the time, a minor at the time, 17 years old. Let's pick up from here with a legal expert and a friend of the Focus, Leo Terrell, Fox News contributor, civil rights attorney. He joins us by phone. Leo, are you with me?
Harris, thanks. Yes, I'm with you. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate in this testimony examination. I've been watching it from beginning to end, and I'll tell you right now, Kyle Rittenhouse's state of mind has been clearly demonstrated that he was there to help people. You go there to help people with a medic kit, put out fires. And you saw at the point where the judge stopped the testimony, Mr. Rittenhouse getting so emotional in front of the jury, and you saw the judge hand him a bottle of water. What I've heard so far is a witness who is willing to go on the witness stand and tell the jury that he went there with the intention to help. And I'll tell you right now, his testimony has been riveting, looks very credible. It'll depend on how well he'll stand up within cross-examination. But I'll tell you right now, given what he has done so far, my 30 years of trial experience, I think he's done an outstanding job as far as telling the jury and telling the world why he was there, what his intentions, and he had no intention to harm anyone.
Leo, I want to get a couple of points in because his attorney did. And I'm curious why the defense would ask about this, what the significance was about that bulletproof vest. And what the witness said, Kyle Rittenhouse said, was that he was issued that vest by the Grays Lake Police Department. Now, we've seen reports that he bought the bulletproof vest and that it was given to him by that same police department. So that would be consistent. But he gave it to a friend after arriving at Kenosha. Rittenhouse says he lent him the bulletproof vest. And I mentioned this just moments before, but in the context now of his attorney questioning him about it, he said he thought he wouldn't need it because he was there to help people. He says the vest was issued by the Grays Lake Police Department, where he was an explorer. His relationship with whomever he would have handed that vest to. Is that why the defense attorney asked about it? Or is it, I'm just curious, why would his attorney ask about that vest?
I think the question here is that it shows that by giving the vest, I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse Harris had any intention on being confrontational with anyone. I mean, you saw the fact, he testified to the fact that he was trying to put out fires. He was trying to render assistance. This guy was basically using the life skills that he's been trained as a police explorer. I think he said he was a lifeguard. I think he had no anticipation of being confronted by anyone. But you also heard him testify that he was threatened not once, but twice. Notwithstanding that, in the sequence of events, he's trying to help get back to the original location. And at that moment where the judge stopped the testimony, you saw how overwhelmed he was from the emotions as to what was about to come out of his mouth as far as the testimony and his reaction. You saw raw feelings there.
So, Leo, the defense point of all of this isn't to say that he didn't do this. And the emotion comes because he is about to say whatever it is. And that's what you're walking us through now. That's where that's coming from. So the defense is that he did this in self-defense, which Wisconsin law does allow for you to take deadly force in that instance.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no question. This man, Kyle Rittenhouse, was facing imminent bodily threat. He was facing the possibility of losing his life. He has a legal right, Harris, to defend himself, to protect himself. The key here, Harris, is who initiated the threat, and was his response reasonable?
All right, two things. One, for anybody watching, I want to take us back to this video on the screen because we haven't seen it in a while. It's August 25th, 2020. You see the police there in SWAT and riot gear. Just to set this up again, the demonstrations erupted after that Kenosha police officer had shot and wounded a black man, Jacob Blade. So I'm just taking you back to August 2020, and we had seen this playing out in different cities. The episode, this type of reaction, the episode captured on cell phone video came at a time of protests across the country over the killing of George Floyd and police abuse of black Americans. During those reports, before those cases had been adjudicated, any of them. So the nation was kind of what I would describe, Leo, and you and I have talked about it before, at a tender spot. Not everybody waiting for the facts, dealing with a lot of emotion. So we know from when the prosecution had the realm in the courtroom there, for lack of a better term, a layman's term here, a trained paramedic who was shot and survived, one of the three people shot, two did not survive, testified that he thought Kyle Rittenhouse was an active shooter. So I just want to put that in there too and work that through what we're seeing today, please.
Well, I'll tell you, that individual also, and his testimony indicated that he pointed the gun, and Rittenhouse had not pointed the gun at him. And at that point, when the paramedic testified to that point a couple of days ago, Harris, I thought this trial was over, because to me it was clearly a self-defense move. You saw the prosecutor put his head down because he was basically shocked by the truthful testimony of this paramedic. And I'll tell you this, Harris, the one thing that is so significant when you talk about what happened in August of 2020 in Kenosha, and the court of public opinion playing games with the facts, and you see what's actually occurring in the courtroom, where there is not the court of public opinion, but actual admissible facts. It's a different story, Harris. It's a totally different story. Those people who are trying to accuse Rittenhouse of being a member of the white supremacist group, this kid, to me, is a credible kid who got caught up in a situation in which he tried to defend himself, not attack anyone. There's nothing I've heard where this man had a motivation to attack anyone.
You know, you will hear that it's been reported that he was carrying an AR-style rifle in that medical kit. Talk to me about the facts of that. And is that why the charges are what they are? First-degree intentional homicide, attempted first-degree intentional homicide, first-degree reckless homicide, reckless endangerment, 2 counts, carrying a firearm illegally as a minor, could carry a maximum sentence of life in prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all those charges, Harris, was caught up in what you set up in the beginning. The George Floyd aftermath, August 2020, this country was basically pro-riot as far as the Democrats were concerned. But what you had there was prosecutors acting, in my opinion, erroneously and reacting to court of public opinion. Because the facts that come out so far in this trial and the testimony, Harris, I don't see any facts to support these charges. And I'll tell you right now, the fact that this young man is testifying, you know what he's telling the world? I am here to tell you the truth. I am here to tell you my story. Harris, a lot of people facing those charges, they don't testify. The motivation
That's
for
an
this young man to
interesting
testify,
point. And I want to,
Yes.
I'm going to step in there, Leo, with all respect, because I want to slow you down just a little bit. That is a really critical point. Why is it that they don't take the stand? Is it so that we don't see the tears and the emotion? And by the way, that does not help the prosecution.
Harris, I'll tell you right now, most individuals who do not take the witness stands have some type of guilt or feeling of guilt. The attorneys believe that there will be more damage done on cross-examination. They feel that they will be torn apart. I don't think this young man falls in that category here. This young man does not have a criminal background. He wasn't involved in some type of criminal misconduct. The history of what happened that night indicates that this young man had good intentions. Did you hear his attorney say, have you ever met these people before? No. Have you ever had any problems with these people before? No. So therefore, he had no motivation, Harris, to kill anyone. He had no motivation. He was there to help people, and therefore he got caught up in a scene. And the question here is, did he take reasonable steps to protect himself? And he is saying, I'm willing to get up on that witness stand, raise my right hand to God, and tell the jury the facts. It will be very telling, Harris, how he withstands cross-examination.
All right, let's go there. And just a quick reminder of everybody what we're doing. We're inside of a 10-minute break by the judge so that the 18-year-old defendant in this case, 3 shootings at a protest in August of 2020, Kyle Rittenhouse of Antioch, Illinois. He was living with his mom at the time there. His father lived in Kenosha. He had gone to Kenosha where there were riots in the streets after a police killing of a black man, Jacob Blake. And, Rittenhouse has said that he was going to help people, their businesses being destroyed, people possibly hurt. And so that's what we're watching right now. We see the judge's seal as soon as the courtroom seal. When the judge is seated again and this proceeding goes on, we'll go back to it right away live. So, Leo, let's pick this apart now. If you are the prosecution on cross-examination of Kyle Rittenhouse, what do you anticipate we will see?
Well, I will tell you, Harris, he's going to focus. If I'm the prosecution, I am going to focus on his firing the weapon. Did he take time before he fired? 1 shot, 2 shots. He's not going to talk about what happened before. He's going to focus on trying to get Kyle Rittenhouse to show that his actions were unreasonable. So expect him to focus on the actual shooting itself, shot by shot by shot. What did he see? How did he react? What did he notice from the individuals? Why did he fire? All those questions. Focus on that area if I'm the prosecutor. So that's the only way he has a chance to break down his credibility. Because everything up to that point, Harris, Kyle Rittenhouse is a good Samaritan. He's a good Samaritan. And I've been in the courtroom for 30 years, and I can tell you right now, his testimony is solid so far. And let me tell you right now, those tears look real. And when I saw the judge hand him a bottle of water, That sends a powerful message to the jury. I was shocked.
So they
that the
didn't
judge
just look
gave
real
bottle
to the audience, potentially, you know, someone like yourself as a civil rights attorney and has been in a courtroom in and out of it for 30 years, not just looking real to you, not just to bystanders, but to somebody who's there overseeing the adjudication of this case. And that matters, I would think, to the jury. I don't know. What they're supposed to do is look at the facts. But part of the facts, I don't know, does it work this way, Leo, that when someone breaks down like that, the judge hands you water and gives you a 10-minute break to get yourself together?
Harris.
Does that become a fact inside the case? I don't know.
Let me think about that. Yes, Harris, you've been a journalist for years. You cannot ignore emotion, and the jury will ask itself, are those tears real? And I will tell you right now, they look real to me because that came out of left field. That was real, unscripted, and I'll tell you right now, the jurors saw that.
Mark Richards, lead attorney in this, also on the team, Corey Chirafisi, who we've heard from in reports as well and inside that courtroom. Talk to me about his defense team and what they're telling him right now, because they're going to come back out and they have to keep going, Leo.
Yes, they have to.
What would you be telling him?
I would tell him, if I was his attorney, I would say, you've done a great job so far. You got to control your emotions. I know it's very emotional.
He's only 18.
Yes, you have to tell the jury. You have to anticipate, Harris, what the prosecution is going to ask. So his attorney has to ask the same questions that he anticipates the prosecution to come back with. So he got to get through this, because this is the bread and butter of all the charges. His actions during the firing of his weapon and what he saw.
You know, some reporting, and this is from the Associated Press, has the man who took the stand, who was shot, Gage Kroskowitz, the third and final man who was shot by Rittenhouse during that night of racial justice protesting, took the stand. And he said, I thought the defendant was an active shooter. And he went on to say that he had his hands raised as he closed in on Rittenhouse and didn't intend to shoot the young man. So is that consistent? I mean, that sounds like two different things going on there from that witness, but I'm not the expert. You are.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, the question is whether or not the jury's going to buy that argument. It doesn't sound consistent. And this is what the jury is going to have to deal with. Remember, the burden, Harris, is on the prosecution beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, so therefore, all the defense has to do is raise reasonable doubt. And I'll tell you, so far, the question is, has the prosecution made its case to the jury? Because they rested. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think so. I don't think so because of the inconsistency. Inconsistency favors the defense all the time.
All right. I want to get to what happens next, if we even have a moment. And the reason I say that, Leo, is because I'm watching the judge come back in. And so we could be literally seconds away from them resuming. So we will see Kyle Rittenhouse again. Would you have put him on the stand?
Oh, knowing what I just learned in the last 45 minutes, yes. Because, Harris, I cannot stress this enough to the Fox viewers. This young man, based on what he did up to the time of the shooting, had the motivation to help.
All right.
He did not have what you call the evil intent to shoot someone.
I just want to slow things down again. I often will do this when there's a hinge point here. That is 18-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse, accused of shooting 3 men. 2 of them died the night of racial justice protesting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. There was also looting and rioting going on. He's already described a chaotic scene. Let's watch. The trial has resumed.